Welcome back, my friends, for another fun reloading video. Today we're doing our very first rounds with our 38 Special Large Primer Pocket Brass. We're going to be using our cast Lee 358-158. We're using CCI Large Pistol Primers number 300 and 700x. And this is our brass, the Peters 38 S&W Special with the large primer pockets. So today we're going to be using 30 pieces of brass. It's all been sized, it's all been trimmed, it's all been chamfered and deburred on the case mouth, and we've already expanded and primed our cases here. So all we have to do is throw our powder and seat our bullets, and we'll be good to go. And once again, these are our bullets here, the Lee 358-158RF. They are once powder coated. They came out at about 161 grains, and they are sized to 358. Our primers, once again, that's the CCI Large Pistol Primer number 300. And this is the first time I've seen this new packaging with the crazy yellow on it, so that's kind of cool, right? Otherwise, they're, identical to all their other standard primers. And our propellant today is going to be Hodgdon 700x. You can see it's a bulky flake type powder, mostly gray with a few white little specks in there, but nothing to worry about if you see those coming out of your bottle. This is becoming a favorite here on the channel. I'm still finding it for $20, $22, and these charge weights are very small. We're talking about 3 or 3.5 grains here. So this is also a very economical option if you're trying to stretch out your components as long as you can. So I was looking for some load data. Lee was able to provide us 3 to 3.4 grains with a cast lead bullet from their manual. Hodgdon was able to provide data for a 158 grain XTP at 3.2 to 3.7 grains, which seems pretty hot. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a plus P load because those XTPs are fairly long bullets, and also that's more powder than any of our other sources we have here. So moving on, Lyman 2.9 to 3.3 with their cast bullet, and that was also listed in the Hodgdon website as well. So since I've got a cast bullet here, we're using a basically unknown brass with a new primer that I've never used before. I've never loaded Large Primer 38 Special. I don't know if anyone else really has either. So we're going to start low with this Lyman data. We're going to go at 2.9, 3.1, and 3.3 grains. And you'll notice I've got 30 rounds here. That's because we'll be testing each load with our Ruger LCR as well as our GP100. So the two different barrel lengths are going to give us different data, so that'll be kind of fun to see as well. Now it is a fairly fast burning powder, so we should get a complete burn with the shorter barreled LCR, but we'll see if the GP100 gives us any kind of extreme velocity differences with its 4-inch barrel. And you guys know how I like to write the charge on my cases. So yeah, it's ugly, but if I drop or spill anything at the range, nothing's going to get confused. So it's just easier to keep track of. Also though, I noticed a couple cases have a few minor splits in them. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with it for this loading here. However, that'll probably skew our velocity datas and whatever with the chronograph, but we're already primed and all that fun stuff. The split must have occurred when I was expanding them because you're able to feel the splits when you're trimming, chamfering and deburring and all that. You can feel it catch on the blade, and I wasn't experiencing any of that, but the ones that I did, I tossed those because they were obviously split. But if they start to pop up here and there as we go through these, we'll toss those as well. And so, I just got these in a trade with some 223 brass or something silly. So if I only get a firing or two out of them, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to be something fun to play with, instead of running through all of my small pistol primers. I was able to find this one pack of large pistol primers because, apparently they're less popular. So it's going to be something fun to play with. And we can also load up the exact same charges with some small primer brass, and we'll compare velocities and all that stuff later on as well. So these are, fairly small charges. I'm not going to be using a scooper or anything. So once we get our trickler charged, there we go. You can pretty much throw all these with the trickler in a matter of a few seconds. And there's our first one at 2.9 grains. Let's have a look at our case fill here. We're way down there as far as case capacity. It's probably only to about here. But again, this is a very fast burning powder. So if you were to fill this whole case up, you're probably double charged at that point, and that could be very bad. So always watch what you're doing there. So I'm gonna get these 10 charges done, and then we'll give a visual inspection to all 10. Then we'll start seating some bullets and go from there. So here's our first 10 cases. Just doing a quick inspection to make sure none of them got a double charge or nothing's missing powder. I think we are good to go here. We'll get to seating these. I don't currently have an overall length decided on, so we'll just, seat one down until we get to the first lube groove there, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I have absolutely no idea where we're gonna be seating these, but we'll just run the first one and lower the die onto it. I think that's our case, so we'll go ahead, leave this here, and we can work with our stem now. Beautiful. And as you can see, we've got a long ways to go. And somewhere in there is where we're going to end up. I might go just a tad further. Let's try a different case and see how that looks. All right, so we're going to come down just a hair like I mentioned. And we're going to check this third one. I think that looks good right there. You do the little shake test, you can clearly hear powder in there, so no worry about being compressed. We're going to run these first two back in there just to make sure they're at our final depth. And then I'll get the rest of these. Yes, just perfect. We'll call that great. Knock these out and we'll get to our next charge of powder. So we got those 10 done. This is the one with the split on it. And obviously it's not far enough down to call it completely trash, but it's not a best case scenario for doing a load development. However, I think we'll let it fly. And if we have to toss it at the end of the test, then so be it. And here's our case fill at 3.1 grains. And all 10 of our cases are looking just fine. So no worries there. We'll get to seating these and onto our final charge. And finally, our 3.3 grain charges here. It helps if you actually set the scale. 1, 2, 3.3. Oh, well, we were close. All right, third verse, same as the first. Let's do this here, boys. And our final check on our case fill. They're all even, and 3.3 grains is still not even half of the case. So we're not going to be worried about being compressed or anything. And if you were compressed, you should definitely start over and rethink your process. But we're going to get these seated here and get on with it. And that's our last bullet there, seated just perfectly. Time to move on to our crimping die, and we will get all those set up here. So we've got our crimp die set up. You can see our nice crimp right into that groove. not overly done, but just enough to get rid of that expansion, and just enough to hold that bullet in place if it were to slide anywhere under recoil. And there you have it, folks, our very first loadings on the Large Pocket 38 Special Brass. Again, that's the CCI number 300s. We had the Lee 358 158 flat nose, and we're using high score 700x here. So make sure to stay tuned for that range report. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like that video for me. Stay tuned for more, folks. We will see you in the next video. Have a good one.